common among other races. It was called congenital prenatal dentition. "What kind of races?" asked my father on the defensive. "Caucasian, sir," said the nurse. "But this child is as dark as the inside of a needle," Dad replied. "Genetics is a science full of gods, Mr. Sánchez." That must have consoled my father. He finally resigned himself to carrying me home in his arms, wrapped up in a thick flannel blanket. Not long after my birth, we moved to Ecatepec, where Mom made a living cleaning other people's houses. Dad didn't clean anything, not even his own nails. They were thick, rough, and black. He used to pare them with his teeth, not from anxiety, but because he was idle and overbearing. While I was doing my homework at the table, he would be silently studying them, stretched out by the fan in the green velvet armchair Mom inherited from Mr. Cortázar, our neighbor in 4A, after he died of tetanus. When Mr. Cortázar's progeny came to take away his belongings, they left us his macaw, Criteria, who suffered a terminal case of sadness after a few weeks, and the green velvet armchair where Dad took to lounging every evening. Lost to the world, he would study the damp patches on the ceiling while listening to public radio and pull off pieces of nail, one finger at a time. Starting with his little finger, he'd press a corner of the nail between his upper and lower central incisors, detach a tiny sliver, and in a single motion, tear off the half-moon of excess nail. After he'd detached the sliver, he'd hold it in his mouth for a moment or two, roll his tongue, and blow. It would shoot out and land on the notebook I was using to do my homework. The dogs would be barking outside in the street. I'd contemplate the piece of nail lying there, dead and dirty, a few millimeters from the point of my pencil. Then I'd draw a circle around it and go on doing my writing exercises, carefully avoiding the circle. Bits of nail would keep falling from the heavens onto my rule-scribed notebook like meteorites, propelled by the current of air from the fan. Ring, middle, index, and finally, the thumb. And then the other hand. I'd go on fitting the letters around the small, circumferenced craters left on the page by Dad's airborne trash. When I was finished, I'd gather up the nails into a small pile and put them in my trouser pocket. Afterwards, in my bedroom, I placed them in a paper envelope I kept under my pillow. During the course of my childhood, the nail collection got to be so large that I filled several envelopes. End of memory. Dad no longer has any teeth, or nails, or a face. He was cremated 2 years ago, and at his request, Mom and I scattered his ashes in Acapulco Bay. A year later, I buried Mom next to her sisters and brothers in Pachuca, the beautiful, windy city. It's always raining there, and there's hardly a breath of air. I travel to Pachuca to see her once a month, usually on Sundays, but I never go as far as the cemetery because I'm allergic to pollen, and there are lots of flowers there. I get off the bus not far from the gates at a lovely median strip with life-size dinosaur sculptures, and I stay right there among the gentle fiberglass beasts, getting soaked, saying Our Fathers, until my feet swell up and I feel tired. Then I go back across the street, carefully dodging the puddles, round as the craters in my childhood notebook, and wait for the bus to take me back to the station. My first job was at the Rubén Darío newspaper stand, on the corner of Aceites and Metales. I was 8 years old, and all my milk teeth had already fallen out. They had been replaced by others, as wide as shovels, each pointing in a different direction. My boss's wife, Azul, was my first true friend, even though she was 20 years older than me. Her husband kept her locked up in the house. At 11 every morning, he sent me there with a set of keys to see what Azul was doing, and to ask if I could fetch her anything from the shops. Azul would generally be lying on the bed in her underwear, with Mr. Unamuno all over her. Mr.